Sometimes it just pays to be a little bit early. And today is one of those days because we're going to start the live stream early. Because why not? Anyway, welcome to the Tuesday live stream. Today, we are here with Patrick Roehrman from Empty Knives. Patrick, say hello.
Hey.
Hey, look what I found.
Nice.
I was looking for this for the last 3 weeks. It's been missing since about 2 weeks after we processed pigs. And I felt, naked without it at my workshop.
Where was it?
It was under my cowboy hat on my desk. I hid it from myself by putting my hat. And the thing is, I have 2 of these, so the other one still hasn't turned back up. But that means chaos is almost taken care of here since that big event at my place. Anyway, Patrick, tell us a bit about yourself and what are you working on today?
Well, today was full of surprises like every day. I was working on some electrical. I'm a knife maker here in the Ozarks. Been making knives full time for about 8 years. Started making knives as just a hobby and then went full time into knife making. I was a lineman, worked for the power company, done welding, done all sorts of things. This morning we had a little bit of some electrical problems that I was working on rewiring some 50 amp RV outlet actually. So just how the day goes sometimes. So that's how it is.
So how many knives do you have to sharpen today?
Oh, as many as I can get done.
Yeah. So Patrick is known for coming to our events and selling knives, but also sharpening knives, showing people how to sharpen knives. And it's kind of marked by he'll be sharpening knives till 2 a.m. at these events and still feel like he didn't have enough time to finish everything. Is that about how that usually goes?
Pretty much. It's, right now I'm trying to get the shelves filled back up. It's a constant good problem to have, but I'd like to get the shelves full. This is the perfect time to be out fishing or doing something else that I'd rather be doing. But, you make hay while the sun's shining.
That's a good attitude to have. Okay, so you're coming to Self-Reliance Festival, right?
That's the plan.
Well,
going to be
there
there
we
Friday.
Find like the weirdest thing on John Willis's property for you to sharpen?
That'd be fine. I mean, I don't know, you could get any weirder than I've done spearheads. I've done, just all sorts of stuff. People, can you sharpen this? Well, yeah, this is an ornamental object, but I'll sharpen it for you.
The Gil Higgins fantasy knife.
Actually, I have some nitinol. Do you know what that is?
What is it?
Nitinol?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some of that. I've had for a few years now. And guy that's visiting wants me to make something out of it. I don't know if you've seen anybody. I just watched a pretty good video of a guy trying to work with nitinol. It's not pleasant to work with, and it's really not you can make a knife out of it, but it's not the best material for it. But if you're looking for non-magnetic, I guess you could let your imagination run wild on the benefits of something non-ferrous.
But nowadays, even Garrett, the wands, they pick up density. It's not just ferrous metals anymore. So like the days of having some shit, on your belt line and getting through the radar at the airport, like those days are kind of gone.
Social engineering, man.
If they're looking for it, they're going to find it.
Yeah, social engineering. I mean, you got to get creative. I'm not much for, smoke. It's all an illusion. We talked about that before. It's funny how I've been to some high security events and they've got people wanding you. And it's like, I can look around the room and find 20 different weapons. It's like, you guys are so concerned about it, but yet you're so oblivious. Like they make knives in prison with toothbrushes and all sorts of things. You're not going to keep somebody that wants to do harm to somebody else and is willing to die to do it. You're not going to prevent it.
Yeah, the bad guys are always going to have it.
Yep. Put them in a rubber room.
I mean, with your teeth, you can do a lot of harm.
Yeah. That is true.
It may not be the sexy answer, but it works.
Yep.
And somebody who's wanting to do harm probably doesn't care if it's sexy or not, right?
Yeah. I'm not much for you know, I get requests to do all sorts of things, and I'm not much for making weapons. I make knives. They're a useful tool. They're used every day. And the other day, you're talking about not having your knife. I actually ran off without my knife, and several times during the day I went to reach for it, and the buddy that was with me, he's like, "Hey, this is painful to watch." He's like, "Let me give you this knife." I'm like, "I have a knife. I have a knife right here on my Leatherman. It's just habit to reach for my neck knife."
Yeah.
So.
Echo Sierra says, "I'm not going to bite the local tweaker. I will if they're trying to kill me. And that's the only thing I got left. I'm going to bite the heck out of them, even though I then will have to go get my, cleansing vaccinations or whatever."
Yeah, biting tweakers is never recommended.
No, but if it's your last resort, it's your last resort. It is what it is.
Yep.
Somebody's got to be pretty close to you for you to bite them.
So you're heading Texas like any day now?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I leave tomorrow after my last live stream. I hit the road, and I'm going to try to get 5 hours under my belt, because it's 14 or 15 hours to Bastrop. Yeah, Exit and Build Conference.
How big is that?
It's about 500 people, so it's similar to Self-Reliance Festival, and I'll be speaking along Joel Salatin and Jack Spirko and some other pretty cool people just about how to. The last time was more how to find planned communities, and there was a lot of focus there, and how to just demand your freedom. But this time they're bringing in the layer of, okay, so you want to leave the city, and these are some strategies for leaving the city. If you've already left the city, here's a track for you. If you haven't left the city and you're feeling like, I don't have enough money to get out of the city, we're gonna take on that myth head on, because at some point when you decide to get it done, you decide to get it done, and nothing's gonna stop you. But you have to make the decision. You have to be willing to sacrifice for it. And I have collected stories of what people I know who were not super well off, in fact, were at the poverty line, did to get where they wanted to go. And some of them did things like live in a tent on the land they were able to scrape just enough money together to live off of for a year through the winter. You can put a tent up, you can put a wood stove in it, depending on the tent, and you can stay as warm as you can stay. It is what it is. They just didn't have a house to move to.
I wish you would quit convincing people to come out here to the country.
You're not in the country. You're in like this weird town that's in the middle of the country. It's like country,
I know, but I'm trying to get further
little
out.
houses, and then country again.
I know, I'm trying to get further out, but you guys are just making it hard on a guy. So.
Well, you need to commit. You need to commit to go to the country. That's all it'll take, Patrick. That's what I was just saying.
Bob Lester, are you headed here this weekend? Are you coming into town? It'll take him a minute to answer.
Yeah, I was just saying. I was looking for that. So, Bob, we still have all of our steri strips from the 3 neck knives. Yep.
Nice.
How many people have you seen pull it out and cut themselves out of the chute, Patrick?
Oh, enough. Too many. But I don't remember. Somebody just from your workshop, Nicole, messaged me and said that it's already drawn blood, but they waited till they got home.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. If you're not used to, most people are not used to a sharp knife, and you just have to pay attention, or it's going to get you. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, well, then you get used to a sharp knife, and then the dull knife gets you. That's the problem.
Or a bow saw, like I just got a bow saw here about a month ago.
Really bad.
Yeah, it got me pretty good. So thankfully, I didn't have stitches or anything like that.
Was that Tractor Supply yesterday? No fruit trees. The girl said, "Sorry, John Willis was here already." Just kidding. They had 3 lemon trees.
So you're never going to get lemons here in Tennessee. At least I don't think you will. But if you want fruit trees, Jackson, Home Depot, and Lowe's have a ton of them that they just unloaded this weekend. I was there.
Oh yeah, get them now before they get fried too, because they're going to sit out there and not get enough water unless your Home Depot is different than my Home Depot.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you guys noticed an acetylene shortage? I don't know if you buy.
No, I don't use it.
I don't know what it is. A what?
For welding.
Acetylene for oxygen cutting, torches, stuff like that.
Okay, so no, but all gases that I try to access are short. So I have a CO2 tank hooked up to a whatever it's called, soda stream, so I don't have to get the little cartridges. And every time I go to refill that thing, it's a big old research project figuring out where I can exchange my tank.
Yeah, from my understanding, there's some place that manufactures the acetylene that exploded. It's weird how all this kind of weird stuff.
Well, we've had 3 planes now take out food manufacturing facilities in the United States. We're up to 3 aircraft. And when you Google anything about it, they fact check it and they literally say it's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Is it?
Well,
I don't know.
Conspiracy theory is only 6 weeks to conspiracy fact. I mean, you just have to compile the data.
Probably these pilots texting and flying.
Which fruit tree attracts the least unfriendly pests? I'm outside of Chirac?
Chicago.
Oh, Chicago. I was like, what's Chirac? I don't know.
Well, your mayor just called to take up arms. So, I mean, I think the pests are probably the least of your worries. But I have apple trees that do really well. And then as you think you're going to pull apples, they implode. And it's because of a rust. I'm literally cutting down every cedar tree on the property.
Apple rust.
So that we can have apples. Our peaches do really well. They attract Japanese beetles. But if you get out there with a shop vac, just a little portable vacuum, I used a dust buster last year, you can vacuum them suckers up really easily. And as far as $50 at Lowe's for trees, I saw peach trees that were well taller than I am, and they were $35 a piece. It's just like, I mean, you're going to have those suckers for 20 years, if not more. I do that all the time. I'm like, well, I'm going to wait until it goes down. And really, if I need 100 of something, I should buy it when I see it, because if I wait till it goes down, everybody else waited, and by the time I get to it, there's 5 when I need 100.
Yep. And I would say this, the pest answer is different by region. So the best way to find out the best plants and varieties to plant in your area is go to people who have already planted stuff. Go to the farmers, go to the orchards near you and say, hey, why did you choose that variety? How does it do here? That sort of thing. Because it's here, the best thing to plant are sour cherries. And peaches are hard, although John Willis seems to be doing well with them. Apples are hard. Plums are hard. Not impossible, but difficult. And the things that do well here are things like the sour cherry and then berries in this specific little 40-mile radius. And I found that out by finding the people who've been growing things without pesticides for 25 years before me. And they're like, well, yeah, I just stopped planting all that other stuff and planted these varieties. And then it worked.
And if you watch David the Good, if you've never seen his channel, Survival Gardening, David the Good, you should check him out. And what he will tell you is, like, I want my shit all uniform, right? I want 20 apple trees and 20 peach trees. And when you do that, it looks really pretty from a drone, but all of your pests know to go there. And a lot of those pests, they deposit the eggs in the soil right there. So they come back the next year and you have a high concentration of them. So if you break your stuff up all over mumble jumble, and you can bring in other things that will have predators that might eat the stuff that eats the peach tree as well.
Yep. Michael says, and also, can I have a cutting? Yep. If you're local and they say, we love this variety, ask if you can have a cutting. A lot of people who grow things are more than happy to give you as many cuttings or offshoots as they can. I'm one of those people who will do that, because when I kill mine, then I know there are more people that have that same variety if I do something stupid, like, move a hillside and try to kill all my roses or whatever.
Make sure too, if you're going to plant some fruit trees and stuff, that it's not in a place where you're going to get overspray from a neighboring field that's going to just wipe out your entire harvest. We have a lot of problem with that here where they'll spray and the drift will just annihilate your entire harvest.
Yep. That's a problem you don't have in the city as much. Interestingly, that's more of a country problem, is the overspray problem. And I'm lucky to be surrounded by really steep hills, so I don't have that. But just up the road, I have friends who have tried to keep bees year after year after year. And if anybody knows anything about my bitchy bees, they sting a lot and they don't die, and they produce a lot of honey, and they don't get impacted by the glyphosate problem or by any pesticides on crops, because within a couple of miles of me, while there are some farms that use some of those things, there aren't very many, because you just don't want to farm, conventionally in a very steep, rocky, hilly area. So there's just a lot less exposure here. So I'm lucky in that regard.
Matt Matrix says neem oil. I know Tad used neem oil a lot inside in his aquaponic stuff when they were growing all kinds of different stuff. Would they get any bugs in there, and he would just neem oil it.
Yep. Martinson family says the overspray problem is why we're looking north.
Where do you think you're going, Martinson family? What do you got your eye on?
We recently, that's one thing, like the more places you buy, the more you realize what to look for. We recently just had some flooding, and, in this area, you got to look out for flooding. What roads get flooded? Are you going to be stranded on your property if it does flood? Windmill, commercial hog operations, commercial farming, like Missouri, that's a lot of the problems you might run into. Nicole's problems are going to be different. John's are going to be different. So just knowing your local geography and like the type of things that's going to, affect the place that you want to buy your forever home or whatever. So that's what's harder. What I say, it makes it harder and harder looking for property. There's more and more things that, like, I don't want to live there because of this. I don't want to live here because of that. So all these things are things to consider when you're looking at properties.
Yeah, Claiming Liberty says overspray from the air is a huge problem here in Indiana. Yeah, once it's in the airplane and it's up high and they're like, oh no, it's just on this property. That's not true. They sprayed my second year here. They sprayed the TVA sprayed under the power lines, which are up the hill for me. All my grapes died that year, permanently died. Grapes that had been here for 20 years before I moved in, gone. And that was totally an overspray issue. And then I registered with them not to spray in my area. So you can also do that if it's the TVA or your electric company.
Sometimes having bees will, if you register your bees, that prevents what they can spray within a certain radius of where they're at.
Yep.
I mean, there's pros and cons to that. I prefer.
They know you have bees.
Yeah, exactly. This bird flu crap. Now they're trying to, they want to test everybody's birds, and then they want to go out 6 mile radius if there's a positive test and test everything in a 6 mile radius, and that starts leapfrogging around. That'll be a mess.
Only if they know you have chickens.
Yeah, I don't have any birds.
Neither does John Willis.
I don't. Do you hear him right now?
No.
The chicken tractor got delivered this morning. It's awesome. We're about to put birds out on grass right now. Right after this video, birds are going outside just in time. They're about a week too long in the garage. They're starting to get out of the trough.
Yeah.
We've got another trough full of birds up top that we're going to mix with them. I've got 50 Cornish crosses that shipped yesterday, so we should have those tomorrow. And then we picked up 127 mineral tubs, 25-gallon tubs. So we're going to put potatoes in about half of those. And then we picked up a trailer load of bagged soil this morning also. So we're going to mix that in with compost and rabbit manure. And that's what the potatoes are all going in.
Yeah, I got potatoes in the ground. They're about this tall right now, and they need to have wood chips or something put under them to encourage more potato growth, actual bulbing of potatoes. And then I'm doing an experiment with a mesh wire round thing and straw and soil, but it's kind of, I waited too long and the poor seed potatoes are kind of abused before they went in. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not necessarily sure I can blame the method if it doesn't do well because of waiting too long. But my experience with potatoes is they're pretty resilient.
If you watch 100 videos on YouTube about how to do potatoes, you will literally see 100 different ways to do potatoes, and they all grow potatoes. And there's a lot of guys who do them different every year, so there's a lot of track record. And what they're saying is, everybody, they say keep piling on, keep piling on, keep piling on, and others say just start deep, right? It's the shade you need. Once your potatoes start growing, you don't want sunlight to get to the potato. So what we're going to do is we're running cinder blocks up with hog panels over all of our potatoes, so they grow up, and then they create shade, and then it shades the soil, so we don't have as much evaporation out of it. And then once that dies and browns, then we just pull that panel, cut all that dead foliage, and then we just start digging them up. We won't even dig them up. We'll just dump them out onto tarps.
Well, the good news out of the holler is that the chickens, I wondered if they were going to arrive or not, totally arrived.
Is that good?
Yeah, so they were in the brooder. They did great. I usually lose 1 or 2, lost 0 so far. They're in the brooder, and the brooder has a mesh bottom and a tray, and we put the brooder in the chicken tractor. So it's outside, and the mess is out there. Took the tray out yesterday after a week, and we're just letting them eat the grass that pokes up through that and moving the brooder around with the tractor until they're a little bit older, and then I try to get chickens on grass as fast as possible. Yeah. So
plus it's warm right now.
Yeah, it's the perfect time of year to be brooding them. It's not the funnest time of year to be processing them when we process them in June, but it works.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to see 90 this weekend.
Oh, great. That's going to be awesome on my stuff I just transplanted.
Yeah. Shade cloth fast. Shade cloth.
Yeah. It's like you go from it's going to freeze to shade cloth. It's time for shade cloth. All the water.
We'll be to the point soon where we have overhead shade cloth everywhere. So as the sun, moves, we'll just add or subtract shade cloth from, month to month as we need it.
Yeah. Patrick, you guys doing a garden this year?
We've started some stuff, not a whole lot. We got some quail going and the birds that I don't have. I used we just took an IBC tote and cut a door in it and made it for raising out our quail chicks. But just got the quail and a few plants here and there. Nothing major.
Nothing like you used to do?
No.
I keep waiting for M to talk him back into a milk cow.
No.
Not till you have land?
Yeah, I need yeah. There's just so much infrastructure that's needed. And I only have so much time. Kids are getting bigger though. Maybe they'll start. Maybe we'll do some more.
Your kids work pretty hard.
Yeah, they make a lot of messes too.
They're kids. Amy Dingman says, I brought your weather back to Minnesota with me. We're getting 90s on Thursday. That's warm. But I guess with La Nina, they predict a warmer summer.
Don't worry, it'll snow the next week.
Yeah. No, it just snowed this week, didn't it? All my poor northern friends sent me pictures of how upset they were because there was snow on the ground this week. And I'm like out in shorts, working in the garden, wondering how much I got to water.
So have you cranked on your AC yet, Nicole?
I turn it on from time to time, yeah. I haven't cranked it on, but I have one in my room, my bedroom, and that goes on at night because there's nothing. I hate sleeping in the heat. And then the house one, I turn it on if we get above, if I notice that it's gotten above 74, 75, because I'm spoiled.
Yesterday, I think we got up high 80s, low 90s.
Yeah.
I finally broke down and turned on the AC last night.
Yeah. So my house holds the cool really well as long as I shade the south side, which is this side. And even with it up in the 80s this week, the sun hasn't been hitting. I'm surprised because Taj Mahal has a clear roof and it focuses the heat under it. It's actually had a cooling effect because the slats go this way and shade the house a little bit more. So my house has been under 72 all week without any AC on. But last week we did go up over and then we had to run it. And I think I was running the oven inside too. So that'll get my whole house. My oven will heat my house in the transition times when it's too warm for a wood stove, but still kind of cold and you kind of want a fire, you just bake something and then you're fine. John Willis is like, I just turn on my heat.
So I don't think we used heat even a single time this entire winter. I don't think we one time used any heat. We run an air conditioner every night. All the ACs in the shop right now, I think all 5 of them are on right now. And then anything new we add, we're just putting in mini splits everywhere.
Yeah. I'm getting a mini split for my roasting shack that I need to pick up and install. That's like the big exciting difference because it was like 120 degrees in there last summer while I was roasting, because it's like a giant hair dryer. And I started looking at this and I was thinking maybe I should put the mini split in my house and move the giant window AC unit that because I have a really big window, loud jet engine sounding AC unit that cools most of my house, which is fine. It works great, but I might as well just do the mini split there and move the loud thing to the already loud roasting shack where all the fans go. It's kind of, so we'll see. There may be a whole musical air conditioners that happens here because mini splits are the plan here too. And then I have backup heat that doesn't involve plugging something in because my backup heat is kerosene heaters or electric, like the oil circulated heaters that you can just thermostat them on if you're sick or something.
If you eventually dump that other window unit and go to a mini split there too, your cost savings will probably pay for the unit within a few years.
Yeah.
And the mini splits are heat also.
What John's telling me is I should just get another mini split and not do all this noise.
And I know why you're doing it. I mean, I have 220 volt big window units, and that's what we used at the snake trailer and stuff, just because it was so simple. Like anybody can cut a hole and put that thing in, whereas the mini split takes a little bit more to install, and it's kind of the unknown. But man, once you have a mini split, you'll be like, why did we? That's what's in the kitchen right now is a mini split. So you've seen that thing. Yeah.
No, I love them. I want to find one that does not have a digital display on it or has a digital display I can turn off if possible, because I stay in hotels when I travel a lot, and you end up with this blue glowing light that I do not want on all the time in my house that tells me the temperature. Yeah, I can tape over it. Yeah. Post-it notes need to go on my travel with it list. You just put Post-its over everything. I used to laugh because my guest room used to be where my computer was and my printer and all of that stuff. And I couldn't figure out why I would come in and guests would have Post-it notes all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
And then I figured out they were covering all the weird lights that are on and I was like, oh, I could just turn all that stuff off. Like, the printer running lights doesn't really need to be on, is what it is. So Joshua is saying, I've seen pictures from the first few people finishing the Appalachian Trail in Maine and almost a foot of snow.
Wow.
That's a pretty fast trip through, isn't it?
Not if you're a through hiker or a fast hiker or a light hiker, whatever they call it now.
Yeah.
Slack packers.
Hey, when are you taking your family on the AT, Patrick?
I don't know. We went down to Arkansas yesterday and explored some rivers and just had some fun. But AT's a little bit further away.
It is.
We talked about doing a little bit of the Ozark Trail.
Yeah.
When? I don't have nothing set. Nothing set.
Margot says I use a sleep mask. Hate lights at night. Yeah. I got rid of almost all electronic lights in my bedroom. I used to have like one of those alarm clocks with the time on it, but even that, everything's gone now. I leave the phone across the house. If somebody dies in the middle of the night and somebody needs to call me and tell me, I'm not going to know because I won't know until I wake up.
Yeah, they're still going to be dead.
Yeah. That's what I told my family. I said, I won't know until the next morning. And my mom said, none of us care. You're not going to get anything done any faster at 2 a.m. than you would have at 6 a.m. So it's kind of a weird world we live in where people expect to reach you at all times.
Emergencies that are not emergencies. I mean,
yeah.
You can't really do a whole lot about some things that happen.
Yep. And booking that flight to wherever is going to be on its schedule. At this point, even finding a flight at the last minute is pretty impossible because people have been cooped themselves up for a couple years and now they feel like they can travel. So they're like, yes, we can travel. And everything's booked. I've taken to choosing what hotel. If I'm going somewhere and need to land somewhere on the way there, I've taken to not waiting till the same day I need the hotel and actually booking the hotel a couple days in advance and choosing that land point because it's a lot harder to do the flexible roadside hotel thing.
We stopped at the Goodwill bins yesterday and they had entire crates of blue mask and some black mask, $100. I guess we're done with the mask.
Yeah. Some people are.
That was worth some money back, a year ago.
Yeah. They were putting people in jail over making money on it.
Yeah.
So I've made rudimentary raised beds out of chicken fence and T-posts, and we'll fill it with part wood chips and 1 part cow manure, 1 part hay, and that works great. And I'm getting soil. Oh,
you're making soil from those 4 components, or you're adding soil into that stuff?
Good question. So why raised beds? Is that like a back thing or an I don't have good soil thing?
Us here, it's both. We don't have good soil.
Yeah.
And I don't want to bend over.
Yeah.
And when I'm walking people through all those raised beds, it's just more presentable. It just looks nice.
It looks way nicer.
Do you have a hard time it seems like raised beds use a lot more water.
They dry out faster. Yep.
Makes me always want to put a liner in them and then just choose how much water leaves the beds.
You totally could. I mean, just limit your drains in there also. And once your plants are growing, it's going to shade that soil pretty well. And then as soon as we get to a point where our plants are kind of like leaning over, looking, pretty sad when on hot days, the shade cloth goes up. So as soon as you'll have plants that are just like flat, you think they're dead. As soon as you shade cloth those things with like 50% shade cloth, they just come back. It's like a lush forest under there.
Yep, that's my plan with my tomatoes that the redneck keeps abusing. I keep walking out. He's like, the system's drained. I'm like, no, it's the middle of the day. But he's trying to. So for people who don't know, I build a wall of tomatoes on the south side of my house. And it's a hydroponics system. So they're in buckets with about, 12 inches of water and then airspace and then the tomatoes. And the water cycles through that. And we took that whole system apart because we built an addition on and we're putting it back together now. And it's sort of like what I call the no-kill list because we're trying not to kill the plants I so lovingly took from seed to plants. And then it was time to transplant them and the system wasn't ready. So we've been using the Kratky approach where there's not moving water, where it's just the bucket system with an airspace. And then he's been madly trying to plumb it, but then it's the year of the shortages. So every time he turns around, there's another part he needs because we've redesigned the whole system because of the addition that he cannot find. So we're down to 190-degree fitting, I think, is what's in the way of this. And he had it drained. He thought he had that fitting, and then he didn't. So Tactical gets to go back to the store and hope they have it. And we may be back to Kratky for another week. I've just been renamed Rapunzel Sauce by Homestead Glamour Girl. Thank you. You'll be at Self-Reliance Festival, right? You're going to sell your body butters again? Joshua says, I worked in a greenhouse that would just use water-based shade paint, and it was white in color.
Huh.
Does that mean painting the top of the soil white or the sides of the buckets or
I thought he meant painting the actual plastic.
the actual plastic? Tactical says, I did have it. Yep. Okay. So Body Butters will be back.
Right on.
Don't forget to bring Amanda Willis's favorite scent.
What is that?
I don't know. She'll know. Amanda knows. Salima knows. Nobody else knows, really.
Right on.
I think she didn't have it last time. It's kind of like the no chicken salad moment from Melissa.
That's Amanda's birthday that weekend.
Yeah. What are we doing for her birthday?
I don't know.
Is her birthday on the 11th as well?
Huh?
Is her birthday on the 11th?
No. 10th.
Okay, that's my wife's birthday.
So your wife should come to Self-Reliance Festival. We can have a dual birthday party.
Yeah, you want a dozen people there?
That's how you get a dozen people there. Well, then your daughter can braid my hair and it won't be all down.
There you go. I'll probably bring some Rugrats. I don't know how many.
Some Rugrats. Okay, the greenhouse was painted on the outside because Nicole gets the award for stupidest question asked in this particular live stream. With big air guns. Interesting. So they sprayed it and then it washed off in theory. John is getting Amanda a year's supply of spiced sandalwood.
We're probably getting another freeze dryer is what we're probably getting.
Oh, cool. Then you're going to run 2 at a time. We have 2 here, but we're selling one of them.
What size is it?
It's a medium. So we got one used that needs some refurb on it, and I believe Tactical's mom is going to buy it. We were thinking about running 2 at a time, but I'm just not quite ready to build that into my life. It is what I can do right now to keep up with the one, even though it doesn't take that much time. It's all about the stupid things done, and I keep adding time to it because it's not the time for me to spend the 15 minutes to reset it. But I did manage to freeze dry all my road food this time.
Nice.
So
how much coffee you taking with you to your event, Nicole?
About 250 pounds.
Nice.
Yep.
Come back empty.
That's the goal. I do not like returning from trade shows with coffee in my car. That space is going to be for the soy-free, fish-free feed I hope to find in Texas for the meat birds, which is the perfect solution. And if I don't get that, I'll go back to my other solution, which is what I've always used. But
was there no luck here in Paris?
I haven't had luck finding it without fish, but I also haven't called Paris. I need to make that phone call and have not done it. What I have been finding is everybody's adding the fish protein for, I think it's a vitamin thing.
Why do you not want the fish?
Sometimes a flavor comes through into the meat. And I want to just make sure it doesn't happen. It's only happened to me one time, but I'm being extra careful this time. And a friend of mine has sent me a make it from scratch recipe too. So if nothing else, I will use the stuff with the fish protein in it until 2 weeks before, and then I'll have handmade, really expensive feed for them. Will there be wooden spoons at Self-Reliance Festival, Patrick?
I hope so. Malachi just got himself a slip in my mind. A wooden lathe. So he's been playing with that. His new tools for that come in tomorrow, so he wants to make some chess pieces.
So M's asking, have you freeze-dried coffee yet? We need an easy travel coffee. I bring a coffee cone and grounds and a camp stove, which is not easy. I have freeze-dried coffee. It does work, but it's not where I want it yet. I'll just put it that way. So the best freeze-dried coffees I've tasted are a combination of freeze-dried coffee and micro-ground coffee. The trick is finding the micro-grinder who will micro-grind your coffee, because if they are micro-grinding other things, the cleaning process of the micro-grinder is crazy. And that's a giant commercial machine that I do not want to own. because I do not want to be a coffee grinder. I want to be a coffee roaster. Every time somebody asks me to grind their coffee, there's an extra charge on my site because that's how much I love grinding coffee. So there's an extra fee for it because I don't love it. But I understand sometimes you just don't have a grinder, and that is what it is. The best way to store coffee long term, Bob, is unroasted.
Green beans.
Green beans.
You can take Nicole's coffee to Costco and grind it right there also.
Yep.
You got a Costco membership.
So what I'm hearing is you need an Expensify grinding button on your website, Nicole.
Well, I mean, I just charge $1 a pound, and then I don't feel bad about it. It makes me a little happier to grind it for $1. Did you freeze dry cheese for the road? And is it good? It is. So I actually like the sliced cheese freeze dried for the road because it's like a potato chip consistency sort of. And that's a good one. I have that and cold cuts and then some meals that I did. Where did you get old knives to practice sharpening on, Patrick?
I just sharpened the knives, the junk knives that I had at my house. I'm actually now been looking for some knives. Haven't found a whole lot, like Goodwill, stuff like that. Because I want stuff for my kids to practice on. So I don't have a whole lot of junky knives around. But I think the plan's going to be is pick some quality knives up at like the Goodwill. And I don't really consider Cutco quality, but some people do. So I just pick up some Cutcos or some. It's amazing what you can find at the Goodwill if you just at the right time pick them up, $1 or $2 a piece. And so I plan on sharpening them and then just reselling them to whoever wants them. I don't need them.
Flea markets, any of your swap meets, and the dude that's got the tables with all the old ass boxes full of rusty tools and shit, there's always knives in those. And that's where like grandma's old kitchen knives and butcher knives are. That's always where they are.
Yeah, and it's kind of getting a little bit harder because like I know there's a flea market that I went to here locally, and the guy running it, he kind of knows what things are worth and what they're going for online, and he's selling that stuff online. So, a lot of their prices have gone up, but I mean, it is what it is. Just there's still good deals out there to be had. Garage sales, flea markets, whatever. You're going to pay one way or the other. So, I mean, what's your time worth? For me, I don't really like spending the time running around looking for good deals. I'll just go buy a cheap knife and practice on it.
Yeah, Walmart has like $4 knives that we use for processing classes that are more of a fillet style knife. Those things are terrible and don't hold an edge, but you can sharpen them. And when you have a class and people throw them into the sink or whatever, you're not watching your best knives get chipped up. So they're a pretty, I mean, that wouldn't be bad for a starter knife, I guess, if you can't find them at Goodwill. I like the idea of the old knives better because you're probably going to have better metal. But any good site on how to freeze dry food? Harvest Right. Harvest Right sells the freeze dryers, and there's a lot of information on their site. From there, where I've gotten the best information is on social media by asking people.
Don't you have some sort of affiliate link for that too, Nicole?
So is John Willis.
Okay.
Yeah, use John.
Retired at 40. If you're thinking you want to buy a freeze dryer, Retired at 40 YouTube channel. Yep. Start right there.
Yep, it's a great YouTube channel, and there is a Facebook and a MeWe group for it where you can ask people and get answers. Retired at 40, and then Betty's Harvest Right Freeze Dryer group is the other one.
You will see the biggest crybabies in those groups, and the biggest, oh my God, I'm so glad I saw this. I'm not going to buy this. Don't buy it. That makes more room for all of us, and you literally have zero other option. You have no other option to buy a freeze dryer other than Harvest Right. So stay out of the game. Good for you. We haven't had any problems. Any problems we've had, if you just problem solve, they are all solvable.
Yep. And if you ask a question like, I had this great idea, and I think what I'm going to do is rent out my freeze dryer, the cottage food Nazis will come out of the woodwork to tell you how you're going to kill somebody by renting access to your freeze dryer because the FDA does not approve.
Okay, that all broke up. Patrick's whole screen went black, and yours went in and out.
Yeah, we had an internet glitch there.
Okay, so we're back. So what about the cottage food laws?
So they'll become like little enforcement Nazis about how you're going to kill people by letting them use your freeze dryer, because apparently if you rent out access to your freeze dryer, that is going to kill somebody. But if you use it yourself for your family and friends and just give the stuff away, it won't.
It's just like when you have a bunch of eggs, right? You're like, I'm going to sell eggs. You'll have 20 people telling you why you can't sell eggs. Everybody wants to police each other rather than just do their own shit. It's insane how embedded that is in all of these groups now.
You know, you want to be careful what you tell other people about what you're doing. You know, like there's always these people that are going to cry. I've got eggs sitting on the counter. Somebody's going to tell me like we're going to die from eating eggs that have sat out on the counter. You know, I remember watching my grandparents cut mold off stuff and eat it. Like so many people are so concerned about all these things. And I'm like, who is the people calling in on people and turning them in over this stupid stuff? Worry about yourself, you know?
Absolutely. The United States is one of the only countries that even refrigerates eggs. Go to Mexico. There's no eggs in refrigerators in Mexico.
Yeah, if you wash them and don't refrigerate them, they go bad faster.
Yeah, but you're still good for 3 weeks.
Yeah. I've stopped because duck eggs get pretty messy because ducks are pretty messy. Yeah. And I used to wash them and put them in the fridge, but now I am down a fridge and I have not replaced it. And I don't care at this point because it's less space taken up. And all my eggs don't get washed and they just go on a shelf. And I use the oldest ones first. I wash them right before I use them if there's gick on them. So I don't crack and get something in the food. But they don't go bad very quickly. They'll go 60, 90 days at room temp that way. Unless there was a crack in the shell to begin with. And then that's, you know,
I toss all those. If they're really dirty, I toss all those. We just feed them right to the dogs or back to the chickens right there.
When you crack the egg, if it smells or looks funny, don't eat it.
Yeah, you'll know. And if you're worried about it, right? Amanda cracks 120 eggs at a time. Crack them one at a time into a bowl. Take that bowl and dump it. If you get a dud egg, you're going to know it. There's many times when I had 12 eggs in a pan and I crack one and there's a bad egg goes in there and then that whole pan's shot. Just one at a time into a glass bowl, not a big deal.
That's country living right there. Because I don't know about you, but my ducks hide eggs and then they reappear.
Yep.
This is why if you're going to sell duck eggs, you candle the eggs or else you risk, a very unhappy customer. My great aunt used to send a cardboard box of fried chicken wrapped in newspaper several states away to relatives. They ate it. No one died. No doubt fresher chicken might have been the key.
Fried chicken and grease. I mean, that shit's going to kill everything that's in there anyways.
Fried chicken's one of my favorite picnic foods.
Yeah.
In fact, that'd be good road food, except for I just did all my road food. So
and it's always better the next day.
It is. It's like lasagna. Here's something I don't understand. So people do events. I watch people plan for cooking for events. And a really popular item is beef stew. We had beef stew at my event. And I made it a week before. And I froze it, and then we reheated it for the event. And the reason I did that is beef stew on day 1 is good, but beef stew on day 2 is phenomenal because all those things have gelled together. And then I watch people trying to make beef stew for that evening, the morning of the event. It makes no sense. Like, why do they do that? Fresher is not better. End rant. Nobody has anything to say to that.
100%.
Pretty sad the conversation about eggs is considered radical these days.
It's just one of the many, many, many examples. Many.
It's just like the monkeys. It's the monkeys pulling the other monkey's about to get out of the cage, right, or get the banana, and they want to drag you down. It's the crab in the barrel thing. rather than just moving forward and doing what you're going to do. They want to pull you down. Just stay away from those people, far away.
Yeah. They're unhappy. They want you to be equally unhappy.
And especially if it's in a group of people that, you guys all get together or whatever, if you're doing something really good and the other husband is not, it makes him look bad. So rather than get up to that level, he wants to shit talk that and pull the other guy down. Just like when you start doing really well, your friends change. When you get at a higher level in life or you do more things, your real friends will still be your friends. But most of the people that people call friends, that's just a term. Those aren't friends. Those are acquaintances.
In German, they have a different word for it.
What do they call it?
Well, so Freund is like a real friend. They'll have all sorts of different words that you can use for different. I'm trying to think of a word, what I would call somebody. Like comrade, you could say, or associate.
It really
But
comes down to.
I would never call somebody a friend who's not truly a friend in Germany.
Really comes down to, are you trying to build somebody up or are you trying to tear them down? Surround yourself around people that are going to build you up, not tear you down. Like, there's enough people out there tearing others down that you don't need that.
Colleague, that's the word I couldn't pull out of the air. Yeah. My colleague, blah, blah, blah. That might be somebody you're very fond of that you hang out with and have beer after work. Could be a colleague. But if you don't have that deep connection, it is what it is. Most people love telling other people what to do, correct or incorrect, due to insecurity most of the time. That is what it is. Okay, Patrick, do you have any new knife designs coming out?
Yes. None that I can talk about.
Oh, is it top secret?
Yep.
Uh-oh. What's the timeline? Does it depend on when you can get metal?
I need to make that phone call. I actually made a phone call last week. I couldn't get some. I still got plenty of metal, but I'm going to make another phone call and see. Going to be working with some different steels too. So, yeah.
Bekannter.
What's that?
Somebody told me a German word that I couldn't think of. Thanks, Logan.
Yeah. My vehicles are EMP proof. Any idea how to prevent the government from commandeering our vehicles in case of a blank? You have way more shit to worry about than that. How is your vehicle EMP proof? I'm assuming you bought EMP shields. We have them here too. I have an affiliate code with EMP Shield. But you got a lot of other problems. Like in what scenario are they going to snatch your vehicle? You better worry about the dude just shooting you as you drive past to grab your vehicle before you're ever even worried about the government. Where do you live? Like, everybody's worried about the National Guard or FEMA or whatever, right? We live in the middle of nowhere. Any National Guard units around here, they're going to Memphis, they're going to Nashville, they're going to the state capitals. They're not coming here. Not in the beginning, at least. So, and if how are they going to know your vehicle is running unless they see you driving it? So, they're not going to come around and check those vehicles. And the government vehicles are hardened as well. If the government has a ton of EMP shield stuff, plus their vehicles, a lot of them are said to run even after EMP. So I just think it's a fun conversation to have. But there's 1,000. Usually dudes having that conversation have no storage food. They have a ton of bills. Like, they don't have any of their shit together. I have no idea who you are. But there's usually 1,000 conversations that are actually actionable right now, and that's not one of them.
You know something I wonder? Because we fear the kill switch in the car that's coming, right? Where they can just turn your car off remotely in the new cars. The thing I wonder about all of this and about EMPs is, what benefit is it to our government or the people who want to take power to kill all the cars with an EMP? A kill switch is selective, but if you knock out everything with an EMP, you knock us back technologically, like the rebuild from that's not super fun. What benefit does it bring to do that, unless you are an invading country coming in?
Or if your government is controlled by somebody else or purchased off, right? If you talk about the elites, do you think any of these laws, regulations, sending our kids to war, none of their kids are going to war. So if you did have an EMP situation, you're going to have what, 50% of the population die off in the first 30 days probably? By the end of a year, you're going to have 90% of the population probably gone. That's a lot more room. That's a lot more stuff for them. It's not going to affect them though. They're not going. Their life is not going to alter in any way. Yanasa Ventures was reading a bunch of government paperwork today. Stuff that's published, and they said by 2030 there will be 50% less cattle. Right? You see all these guys buying up all this farmland right now. They're not farming the farmland. They're buying the farmland and shutting the farms down. You will keep hearing vertical farming.
Oh, John just cut out.
Aids into that. Vertical farming is Vertical farming is code word for bug protein. 3D printed meat, that's bug protein. They're talking about mealworms and they're talking about crickets. Everybody hears vertical farming and you think, arrow farming and the little robot that clips and sprays. That's not what that is. It's literally like Snowpiercer if you've not seen that movie. And that's because if the rich, if they can buy the farms and put the farms out of business and they own the bug protein companies, but your normal population who has less than $1,000 on any day, who lives in the cities, they're going to eat what they're given or what they can get.
Soylent Green. It's the Soylent Green moment.
Yeah.
Okay, Phil. So that's just something I wonder. It's like, what benefit does some of this destruction even bring long term? I have those conversations over and over because, sometimes it doesn't matter why, but sometimes I have time to think about why it matters that. Filled a 5-gallon food grade bucket with unwashed eggs mixed with slaked lime for storage. Can I now keep the 5 gallons in my house if my room temperature is around 70 degrees all summer? The answer to that, Easy K, is I have never water glassed eggs. I have only read about water glassing eggs. I have so many other ways of storing eggs that water glassing hasn't been a thing. So I don't know through trial the answer to your question. I would say try it. Let us know how they are at the end of the summer. Patrick, have you ever water glassed eggs?
No, we eat them as fast as we.
How many kids do you have again?
10, 9 at home.
9 at home.
Yeah.
John, have you guys water glassed?
I gave away 120 eggs yesterday to one place. Like we have so many eggs. We have not. We don't. Everybody wants to talk about water glassing eggs, and it seems neat, but how many eggs do we need? I mean, I have chickens. I'm still pulling 60 eggs a day in the deep of winter. So it's not been an issue. I mean, maybe if you were a victory garden and you had 3 chickens, maybe to get you through the winter or to be able to bake a cake or something in the winter.
I think
putting them in jars.
Don't regular eggs just that have never been refrigerated, aren't they good for like 3 to 6 months just sitting on the shelf?
Yeah.
You can also dip them in oil.
You want to turn them over ever so often.
Yeah, water glassing is an old method of getting you through that dark time of winter. So it sounds like Easy K is going to be our authority on this because Easy K is actually trying the water glassing. I've been curious about it too. I see it as useful if you need eggs, don't have refrigeration, don't have a freeze dryer, and you have like 4 chickens. Then you'd want to have all your surplus eggs put aside for that time in the winter when they either slow down or they molt. That totally makes sense to me.
We have cases of lime right by the front door that came in here, and we haven't used any of it. And about your kill switch thing, like why would they do the kill switch on the car thing? It's about control. Imagine if you had a ticket that wasn't paid, or you had child support that wasn't paid, or you just said something on social media and your social credit score just came down. They can just turn your car off.
Yeah, see, I get the kill switch because you could be really selective. An EMP that destroys everybody's cars in the whole country that are susceptible to that, that's very destructive. That's going to negatively impact the people who are in power, because that will make it so they can't get the things they want as easily. And so that's why I asked, the EMP versus the kill switch. I get.
Why would you want to kill all the slaves? Keep the infrastructure and the slaves alive. I mean, they're not gonna. I don't think that's very much of a worry. Like you said, why would you destroy all this infrastructure and do all that stuff? China wants their own production. Maybe they already have it. Their own production places right here on the U.S. soil.
They have miles and miles, cities that are miles long. It's China sovereign territory. Idaho, for instance, in Idaho, there is China. They have their own power generating facilities. They make all of the clothing for all your fast food companies. And it's all Chinese immigrant slave labor, like Uyghur Muslims in the United States. There's multiple of those locations. If you haven't heard this, just Google it and start looking into some of that.
Yeah, they're not going to EMP that. Why would they do that?
Who is they?
Well, you're just talking about an EMP. They were asked the question about the EMP attack. That's
Everybody
what I'm
likes
saying.
to talk about that. Everybody likes to have that conversation. I like to say, if the power goes out, right, whether it's EMP or it's a solar flare or whatever it is, that's kind of your ultimate. Like if you are prepared, and whether you were preparing for 5 years or 5 days, it's the same preparation. I mean, you need a lot more stuff, but it's just like 5 years ago, everybody was like zombies. It's just something fun for them to talk about. And most people just talk about it, and that's where it ends. They don't do any of the work for it, because it's an endorphin release. It's just like spending money. You can have this fanciful thing, and you can sit with a laptop in your lap and prep for 10 hours, and then you go to sleep, and you wake up the next day and you do it again, and it doesn't take any physical effort.
Yeah, Crystal says rebuilding after an EMP would be a great reason to raise taxes and take more money from the people. Valid point. I just try to have the hard conversations because I always wonder what I'm missing. Something I was struck by when you were at my event, John, and I probably already told you this, is that my network's very focused on how to build the skills to take care of ourselves. And one of the skills we don't talk about much is to defend ourselves if a bad guy's attacking us, because our view of the world is that most people are good. Most people I come across are good people. You have a different background and have seen a different element much more closely than I have. And you see the bad guys. And something I realized when I was listening to you talk about, the elements in society that are just like this close to snapping, is I need to be aware of that and pay attention to that, because my experiences are different than yours. And it would be nice to be able to defend myself against a bad guy. But if I never talk about it, I don't address it, then it's just this denial zone that I have. So an important question to ask right now when we're feeling insecure is, what is your denial zone? What are you doing to address that? Whether it's taking control of your health, taking control of self-defense, taking control of your finances, like what is that thing?
As the economy gets tighter and food gets more difficult, right? I don't see it affecting me. But you have people that literally couldn't fix their car this week if their car broke. They literally live check to check to check. And what happens when those EBT cards turn off? What happens when whatever they want isn't there? Like you walk amongst those people just don't, they have their blinders on, right? They go home as long as the TV comes on. They don't want to think about those things. And that shit's everywhere. All the crime rates are through the roof right now. If you want to know what's going on in your community, just look. Your crime rates are published. Just look for unsolved petty crimes and unsolved crimes in your area. Your sheriff's department will publish that. Just get on and see what's going on in your immediate community. It's up everywhere.
Oh, serve on a grand jury. That's a fun one in your community. Yeah.
Go to court. Here we call it Wednesday court, right? So we'll go to court. We'll have somebody that, got a DUI or has to go pay a fine or something. So we'll go to court in case they need bailed out or whatever sometimes. And you sit in court on Wednesday, and it is literally the dregs of society. It is like Jerry Springer up in there. It is insane. And Scully and I went to court. We've probably been to Wednesday court maybe a dozen times. There are folks in there you see every single time that you're there. They are there before the judge every single time.
Making money for the circus.
Yeah, I mean, my property has a gate. There's only one way in and out of here. Yet people still come in here and end up behind the shop. So we go back there and we're like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I was looking for the front door. Well, you're not at the front door. They're not looking for the front door. They're looking for metal and copper to steal. They're looking for farm implements to steal. They're looking for anything loose. And that,
what they're not looking for is beer, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a job.
Yeah. That's just a joke because there's still beer left from last event.
Right.
It's
No,
like,
we run
take
them off.
that. Huh?
We run them off pretty fast. It's very clear that you're not welcome here.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's been about an hour and I stupidly scheduled something like right after this. So let's do once around the horn, some last thoughts, and we'll wrap up for the day.
Okay, I do a live feed every night at 9:00 on YouTube. Special Operations Equipment. Join in if you want to have these conversations. The conversation is literally about whatever you want to talk about. Sometimes it's 30 minutes. Sometimes it's 2 hours. Conversation's good. Then we just go.
Awesome, Patrick.
I'm just here doing my thing. You can find me on YouTube. I'll do occasional lives. Thanks for having me, Nicole. Thanks, John. It's been good. Yeah, I got to get back to work. There's nobody else here making money for me except for me. But, I think one of the takeaways is don't be that guy that has to run to the grocery store or that person that's running the grocery store every night. Have some preps, have some, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself, mentally, physically, spiritually. And, thanks for having me on, Nicole.
Sure. We'll see you in a few weeks. And guys, if you want to check out Neck Knives at Self-Reliance Festival, he'll be there with them, or go to mtknives.com. You just changed your domain name, dude. I'm still
I have
catching up
.com now. It should just read.
I know. It's mtknives.com because you worked hard to get that. Anyway, that's where you can learn more about what Patrick's up to. And if you want to follow more about what I'm doing, my YouTube channel is Living Free in Tennessee. Tactical Redneck has started taking over my channel and doing random live streams from around the property. So you can see those, as well as I record an audio podcast at livingfreeintennessee.com, but often I record that live as well on YouTube so I can take questions. Thanks for joining in. Before we head out, though, John, there's a very important question from the live feed, and that's, do you smoke cigars?
I have a ton of cigars. I have never smoked a cigar. And last comment, ask yourself this. Everything that you buy on a daily or weekly basis, is it up in price? I think you would have to say yes, considerably up in price. Is your pay up in price? And for most people, the answer is going to be no. Now ask yourself, does that hold true for the bad guys? And who are they going to take those things from when they can't afford to buy them? So just think about it.
And what step can you take with that in mind?
Yeah, be a harder target.
Awesome. Thanks for joining in, guys.
See you guys.